Hello everyone, welcome back again to Liverpool Report today. We've got the latest updates on our beloved club Liverpool, but before we dive in, make sure to subscribe so you never miss a moment of Liverpool Report news. Let's get started. Darwin Nunez has been told to consider leaving Liverpool this summer, with former Premier League star Gus Poyet claiming the striker is treated differently at Anfield to some of his teammates. Nunez has been heavily linked with a potential summer move, having failed to cement himself as a regular starter under Arneslot. He has made just 8 Premier League starts so far this season, while his record of 7 goals across all competitions has attracted criticism. I think he needs to make a decision this summer on whether he's happy with his role at Liverpool or he wants something different, Poyet told bettingexpert.com. He's the #1 striker for the national team, and he's the kind of player you don't want to play against. But with Liverpool, he's in and out, and he gets treated differently to other Liverpool players. Cody Gakpo can go 10 to 15 games with no goal, and it's not a problem. Nunez, it's always a problem. It's difficult to deal with, and it's personal. It's up to him as to whether he's happy with his role, and his family being in England, dealing with the scrutiny. Liverpool is a big club, and moving countries is difficult. Poyet's comments come after Slot publicly criticised the forward's attitude and work rate after a poor miss in a 2-2 draw with Aston Villa in February. "I would prefer him to score, but the word chance says it all," Slot said after the game. "It's a chance, so it's not 100% sure that the ball goes in, and players miss chances. That I can accept, but what was a bit harder for me to accept was his behaviour after that chance. I think it got too much in his head, where he wasn't the usual Darwin that works his off and makes sure he helps the team. That is something we will talk about." When quizzed further on his comments the following week, Slot added, "First of all, I helped him by saying, 'You can miss a chance.' I wasn't only hard on him, but for the second time in a row, I wasn't happy with his work effort against Wolves and against Villa. I always try to be honest with my players and be honest as I can to you guys as well, where I always try to protect my players, so I don't say he never worked hard. I know him differently. I know him at Villa at home, where he made a 100-metre sprint and scored a goal. I know him when he came on at City at home and was pressing really aggressively and wins the ball back and we score. But I can't accept if a player doesn't give everything. That is clear. I can accept it once, but twice was a bit too much. That's why I addressed it. Not that I'm all of a sudden very angry with him. I don't mind that he missed a chance. I'd have loved him to score it. And I know he will eventually score. But if you miss a chance, you need to be fighting for the team. I'm not saying he didn't do that at all, but it wasn't the usual Darwin, the one that is loved by the fans. That is mainly because he always works so hard." Liverpool need a new centre-half this summer, even if Virgil van Dijk stays. Van Dijk claims there has been progress in his contract talks with Liverpool as they try to avoid losing him on a free in June. But the Liverpool and Netherlands skipper will be 34 in July, and Liverpool need to begin the process of replacing him this summer. Liverpool need to sign someone now to take over from Van Dijk in the next 12 to 24 months. Jamie Carragher, who knows a thing or two about what it takes to be a top defender at Anfield, feels the Reds need a centre-half to take some of the pressure off him. As brilliant as Van Dijk has been this season for the champions-elect, he has looked vulnerable in their last 2 games. He was beaten twice by Everton's Beto in the Merseyside derby, and the Portuguese striker's first effort was disallowed for offside before his second hit the post. Van Dijk was then embarrassed by Fulham's Rodrigo Muniz as he turned him before scoring in the Cottagers' 3-2 win on Sunday. Head coach Arneslot is a massive believer in Van Dijk's centre-half pairing with Ibrahima Konate. Slot appears to have less confidence in Jarell Quansah and Joe Gomez, and rarely breaks up his first-choice defensive pairing to give them game time. He was reluctant to even play Quansah at right-back, preferring the round peg of midfielder Curtis Jones in that square hole. That underlines his need for backup for Van Dijk, and Liverpool have been scouring the Premier League and Europe for reinforcements. Dean Huijsen's star is in the ascendancy at Bournemouth, and the teenager, who turns 20 on Monday, has been a revelation since his £12.8 million summer move from Juventus. Although Amsterdam-born, he grew up in Spain and impressed on his debut for his adopted country in their Nations League win over the Netherlands last month. Huijsen has a £50 million escape clause and is being watched by Real Madrid and Bayern Munich. Jarrad Branthwaite, 22, is the top English candidate, but Everton rejected Manchester United's £50 million offer last summer and want at least £70 million for the Cumbrian, who they feel is the new John Stones. That's a lot of money for a player who has yet to establish himself in England's squad, and it has gone quiet on the possibility of him moving across Stanley Park to Anfield. Eintracht Frankfurt's Aurelien Amenda is doing well in Germany and is already a Swiss international at 21. Amenda would not be cheap, and he has 4 years on his Frankfurt deal. Greece international Konstantinos Kouliarakis, 21, is having a fine first season in the Bundesliga with Wolfsburg since joining from PAOK Salonika last summer. Again, his transfer value is only going up, and Wolfsburg would want to start the bidding at £35 million. In this increasingly competitive market, and with AI recruitment on the rise, there are no bargains, and Liverpool could be set for a busy and expensive summer. Liverpool are just 11 points away from clinching the Premier League title, but with the finish line in sight, the Reds stumbled at Fulham on Sunday when they fell to a 3-2 defeat at Craven Cottage. It was the latest in a difficult run for Arneslot's side, who lost the Carabao Cup final 2-1 to Newcastle United just days after exiting the Champions League at the hands of Paris Saint-Germain. And Slot has faced accusations of not rotating his side enough in recent months, with some believing that tiredness has caught up with the Reds. Liverpool have fringe players in reserve, but despite Wataru Endo, Harveyelliott and Federico Chiesa all impressing in cameos during recent weeks, none have started a Premier League match under Slot. Chiesa made a positive impressive at Wembley, scoring in stoppage time to give Liverpool some hope in the final stages of the game. And after a difficult debut season at Anfield, does the Italian deserve more chances to impress in the final weeks of the campaign? Our writers have their say. There's obviously a reason why Chiesa is still waiting on his first Premier League start since joining Liverpool from Juventus, and has seen minutes in general severely rationed this campaign. Slot observes the player in training on an almost daily basis, and it's not as though the Reds have had too many issues scoring goals this season. Even in defeat at Craven Cottage on Sunday, they managed to net twice. And the forward line is certainly one area of the team in which there is genuine strength in depth when everybody, like now, is available. Nevertheless, Chiesa has caught the eye in recent cameos, and with his enthusiasm and work ethic, has not been affected by the inevitable fatigue that has set into the legs and minds of some Liverpool players. In truth, the Italy international is only likely to be given a look-in this campaign should the Premier League title be assured early. But surely the forward has done enough to at least merit more minutes from the bench regardless. Come the summer though, it would be a surprise if Chiesa isn't lured back to Italy, with a number of Serie A teams said to be courting his signature. Should he leave a Premier League winner, and with Liverpool gaining a small profit, nobody could complain too much. Eyebrows were raised when Arne Slot insisted that he prefers to predominantly make use of a smaller group of 14 to 15 players, rather a full squad earlier this season. There was a logic in his reasoning, in terms of players being more familiar with each other, and that stability certainly paid off during the first 2/3 of the campaign. But he's not in the Eredivisie anymore, in charge of one of the Netherlands' elite clubs. The Premier League is more intense with a greater number of fixtures and tournaments, tougher competition, and no winter break. If you want to go the distance across the board, you need to make the most of all your ranks. Given Liverpool's position at the top of the table, the Dutchman is rightly afforded the benefit of the doubt. But it will be interesting to see what lessons he learns heading into his second season. If he doesn't fancy some of his current fringe players, fair enough. But that then needs to be addressed in the transfer window this summer. For now, he has to work with what he has as Liverpool look to get over the line and win the Premier League title. With some players not at their best, it would be wise to turn the less used stars who are so hungry for opportunities to impress. Federico Chiesa is one such player. He has caught the eye in glimpses and is deserving of more than just the scraps of action he has seen so far. Yes, Mohamed Salah is ahead of him in the pecking order, but the Italian is capable of playing anywhere across the front three. With the Reds not at their best in front of goal, and Salah enduring his quietest spell of the season, what's the harm in turning to Chiesa to see if he can answer the call instead? With none of the centre-forward options making the place their own, he should be given the chance to audition. He is clearly a talented player and looks capable of making things happen when turned to. Sure, he was poor against Plymouth Argyle in the FA Cup back in February, but wasn't everyone. One poor game against Championship strugglers should not decide his Anfield career. Having been bombed out by Juventus last summer, he was always going to be left playing catch-up in new surroundings. But after a full pre-season this summer, he'll certainly be better off for whichever club he is plying his trade for next season. In the meantime, Chiesa deserves the opportunity in the weeks ahead to prove whether or not he is worthy of a long-term place in Slot's Liverpool squad. And with the Reds limping over the line in the title race, he could be exactly the shot in the arm the attack needs to get the job done and finish the season as champions.